It's amazing. They know how to appeal to people. They realize that the turnoff of a lot of card games is that they're too pay to win. And let me just show you guys. What's going on, everybody? This is Fry. So today I'm going to explain how to play this amazing new card game. It's called Gwent. It is a trading card game, and unlike a lot of other trading card games, this is actually free to play. You can download it for free, and you can really gain cards very, very quickly. You really don't have to spend any money in order to get a really good collection of cards very quickly. At the beginning of the game, once you finish the tutorial, they give you basically all of the leaders. They also give you a few very competitive decks. They give you a bunch of golds, which are like the legendary, the most rare minions in the game, and you can actually gain about 3 packs a day. They're called card kegs in this game, just by playing for a couple of hours. They're super, super generous. I'll probably make a video explaining about the rewards a little bit later on. But I'm going to just explain how to play this game. It actually is really, really simple to learn. You're going to look at the game and it's going to be like, okay, that was easy. Very, very easy to learn the rules, very difficult to master. The strategy does get very, very deep, so there is a very, very high level of skill in order to play in the highest level, but it's super simple. The way I'm going to explain this to you guys is just by going and playing through the first level of the tutorial. There is a great tutorial in this game. It'll teach you the basics. I'm going to teach you anyway, just because I really want to show you how simple it is. So we're going to go into the first battle, and I'm going to explain battle setting up. We're on the bottom, our opponent's on the top, and this is how the game works. The goal of the game is to have more power on the board than your opponent. Power is simply that big number displayed on every single one of your cards in the top left corner. So this would have 15 power, this would have 10, etc. Our opponent just played a card onto the field that has 6 power. That's the most top number. Ignore the other numbers for now. So he played 6, and that actually gives him a total of 6. As you can see right over here, he has 6. We have not yet played a card, so we have 0. So I'm just, again, the way it works is you just take turns playing cards. Your opponent plays 1 card, then you play 1 card. Then it's his turn. He plays 1, 1, 1. There's no mana or anything, and you want to have it more power than your opponent. So I'm just going to play a minion from my hand. See, this has 10 power, so I'm just going to play it onto the field, and you see now I have 10 and he has 6. So right now I'm, let's say, winning in the current round. The way it works is that it's the best out of 3 rounds, so whoever has the most power in 2 out of 3 of the rounds is going to be the winner of that match, and then it's game over. And they're the winner. So you see our opponent played another card that had 6 power on it, so now 6 plus 6 is 12. We have 10, and now it's our turn to play a card. Now, besides for the actual power that the cards have, they also have different abilities. I'll show you one card over here. You can see this is called the Temerian Drummer. This only has 5 power, as you see, so it doesn't seem like it's that powerful, but if you look at its ability, it says boost an ally by 6, which will actually give another one of our allies, another card that is already onto the field, we'll give it 6 more power. So this is actually a total of 11, so it actually is a pretty strong play. I'm just going to play this right over here, and we'll boost this ally up. And now, after the boost, I have a total of 21 points to my opponent's 12, and now it's his turn to play a card. He played a card with 11 power, so now he is leading 23 to 21, and now it's our play. So there are different abilities. You can boost your side of the field, as you saw with the Temerian Drummer. There's also a possibility to remove or damage your opponent's cards. So, for example, this card that I'm about to play next, it is the Mauler. This has 7 power, which isn't a lot, but it does 4 damage to an enemy. So this is actually going to reduce the power of an enemy by 4. So I'm just going to play this onto the field. It will then give me the option of which enemy I want to target. I'm actually not going to target one of these guys, because if you see right underneath their number, it says they have 6 power and 2 armor, and the armor actually protects them from reducing the power of these units. For example, doing 4 damage to this guy with 6 power and 2 armor, 2 of the damage would reduce the armor, and 2 of them would reduce the power, so this would end up with 4 power and 0 armor. I would rather reduce as much power as I can from my opponent, because those are the points that they're actually using to win. So I'm going to target this one without any armor, and like so. Boom! And you see he's been reduced to from 11 down to 7 power, so essentially this gave me 11 points, 7 on my side and 4 less on his side. And again, he played another one of these from the field. Now, you notice that there are 3 lanes on each side of the field. These are the 3 of my opponents, and these are the 3 that I can play on myself. For beginner players, it really does not matter very much for most cards which lane you play it in, and that usually I would suggest for beginner players, pick one lane and stick all of your cards just in one lane. When you get to a more advanced level, we'll maybe look at some other strategies and when you won't do that, but there's a lot of advantages. Not going to get into all of them right now. Stick all your cards in one lane. Sometimes you'll see on the field some advantages of putting a card in a particular lane. I'll give you one example right now. Let's look at our opponent's cards, the ones that he played first. This is the Clan Axeman. Whenever an enemy on the opposite row is damaged, boost self by 1. So if you see, this is in the little catapult lane. So if you look, the opposite row is going to be our catapult lane. Whenever one of my minions, which would theoretically be in this lane, would take damage, this would actually get boosted and actually gain its power every single time. So I would probably want to refrain from putting my cards in this lane. He also has one in his little archery lane, so I don't want to put cards in this one. So that's just another reason why I'm going to be stacking all of my cards just in this one single lane, and they actually do tend to protect each other in different circumstances in the game. There are 4 different types of cards in Gwent. I'll explain what they are right now. There are gold cards. These are usually the highest power ones. You notice they have a little gold frame around them. The next level is silver. You see it has a silver frame on the outside of the card, and this is bronze. This is the most common that they have the bronze frame on the outside. Really, all of these cards are the same, except for usually the gold ones are, again, a little more powerful, and the silver ones are a little bit less, and then the bronze are the least. There are limitations about how many of these cards you can put in your deck. For example, you can only have 4 gold cards in a deck at one time, but don't really worry about that now. For all practical purposes, they're really played the same. You can only play 1 card per turn. The only difference is this card right over here. This is a leader card. This is a card that when you build your deck, you select a leader, and this is going to be available to play 1 time during each match. You can play it once, and this typically has very, very strong powers. You notice our leader over here. It says, first of all, it's 6 power, deal 4 damage to 2 enemies and lock them. So what does lock them mean? Anytime you don't know what a card does, just right-click it, and it opens up the extended view. And you can always hover over these key terms like lock. It says disable a card's ability, disables and reveals ambushes. So basically, any card that has a special ability, this will lock down that ability and make it as if it doesn't have it, besides for doing 4 damage to 2 enemies. So this is a really powerful play. I'm going to play this right now, and we'll play this right into the field. Now, for example, we did see these cards before, the Clan Axeman, that whenever an enemy would be damaged on the opposite row, it would grow. I don't want these things to grow theoretically, even though I really don't have any minions here yet. So this would be actually very good targets. I'll show you exactly what lock does. I'll select the first one, I'll select the second one. It did 4 damage, so it broke their armor and did 2 damage, and now you see that they're locked. Their ability no longer works. So that was playing my leader. Our opponent just played a card. It has 8 power and did 1 damage to 3 units. So he selected to pick these 3 units, and he actually didn't reduce the power of this since this is armored. It just reduced the armor by 1, so it didn't actually cost me any points on the side. And alright, let's keep on going here. Alright. When you destroy an opponent, meaning you damage it until its power becomes 0, it actually is removed off the board and goes into your opponent's graveyard. I'm going to show you that right now. Here is the Mauler. This does 4 damage to an enemy. I'm going to select this enemy right over here that has 4 power. I will do 4 damage to it. It goes down to 0 and then is removed into the graveyard. It's basically off the field for the rest of the game, unless he resurrects it or something like that. Something fancy. He played another one of these cards, 8 power, did 1 damage to 3 of my units. And again, we're going to keep on exchanging cards until the round ends. Next card I'm going to play is this. Here's Trollolololo. Really strong card, beefy, 11 power, also has 9 armor, so very difficult card to damage off the board. I'll stick that on the field. And let's keep going. Our opponent just played a special card. Now, it kind of went really fast. If you ever are wondering what did he just play, you just go to their graveyard with the skull on it, right-click, and you can see all the cards that have already been played or removed off the field. This is Overdose. It's a special card. It says deal 2 damage to up to 6 random enemies. So since we had 6 minions on the field, it actually did 12 damage to us. A couple of them were armored, so just remove the armor from them. So that was a nice play by our opponent. And let's keep on going. Alright, I'm going to show you another game mechanic, which is called summoning. Here's a little minion that we're going to play. It only has 3 power, which doesn't look very good, but if you see its ability, summon all copies of this unit. Summon means that it means play automatically from the deck. I happen to know that we have 2 more copies of this exact same card in our deck, so when we play this, those are actually going to fly out of our deck onto the field. They're going to get summoned, and we're just going to stick this right over here. Now, every single row has 9, the ability to have basically 9 minions on it. Now we really had a 9-point play since it summoned all 3 of these, which is pretty good. And unless any of our minions get destroyed, basically you can have 9 minions on each row. Our opponent just played his leader. It is Harold the Crippler. 6 power, does 10 damage, split randomly between his minions. That's why you saw all those little bits of damage come out. He actually destroyed one of our minions in the process. And we're going to keep going here. We'll play this card. Again, we're going to keep on playing all of our cards onto a single row. I'll just buff up you. So this is 5. I added 6 power. So you see that we're ahead 51 to 44 here. And our opponent just played a summon card. Played one of these Shield Maidens. Summon all copies of this unit. So you notice another one flew out from his deck onto the field, since there was one of these in his deck. And we'll just keep going. I will play my next card. Now, there are some other ways of summoning, guys, and I'm actually going to show you a little bit of a difference between a technical difference between a gold card and a silver card. Here's the next card I'm going to play. It's Geralt. Nice, very, very high power. It is a gold card again, so it's 15 power. And this is going to be a little bit of a difference, the fact that this is a gold card. Watch what happens when I play this. There's actually going to be a special minion that's going to fly out of our deck and get summoned onto the field, and his name is Roach. The ability of this is when you play a gold unit from your hand, summon this unit. So basically that's a difference. Let's say the fact that this is a gold unit, this got summoned onto the field since it was in our deck. Now you might notice our opponent just passed. It says pass. The way you pass is by holding down on the coin over here. And basically every round either lasts until both players are out of cards or until both players pass. So why did he pass? I'll explain very simply. Right now, if you look at the score, we're up 70 to 50. If you're falling very behind in a particular round, it's probably a good idea to pass, since, you know, you're going to have to really spend a lot of cards in order to catch up in that round. You really want to preserve the cards in your hand, because card advantage is so important. So instead of spending all your cards in this round, and maybe you'll catch up, maybe you won't, better keep those cards in your hand. You'll forfeit, you know, the first round, but again, it's always 2 rounds out of 3. You got to win 2 rounds. So he's hoping that since he's far behind, he'll rather save the cards in his hand and win the next 2 rounds. All the other good idea to pass is also if you're way ahead. If you feel like you're so far ahead of your opponent that they're going to have to spend a bunch of cards in order to catch up, usually it's better then to just pass, even if they haven't passed yet. And you know, sometimes you'll win the round anyway. If not, it's just not good to be overextending and spending cards that are really not necessarily going to help you. Better to save those for future rounds. Obviously, we are already winning this round, so there's no point in wasting cards anymore. So I'm going to hold down this button. And we're going to pass, and we won the first round. Now, at the end of each round, all of the minions go off the field into the graveyards, and you start off with a fresh field. At the beginning of round 2, you draw 2 cards. Each player draws 2 cards, as you saw, and the beginning of round 3, we're each going to draw 1 additional card. I want to explain, it says over here, your turn. We are actually going to play the first card this turn because we won the last round. Whoever won the last round, it goes first. First of all, we do have a little half of a crown here that indicates that we've won 1 round. When we win 2 rounds, we'll have the full 2 points, and we will win the match. Now, I'm going to actually explain a really important strategy in this game. You got to know when to pass, and this would actually be a very good opportunity for us to pass, and I'm going to explain. First of all, we're going first this round. Going first is never good. You always want to have in this game the last say. You always want that they're going to be putting their cards on the field first, and you're going to be able to react to them. I'll give you an example. If we wanted to play Triss right over here, this is a nice 15-point play, 10 power, plus remove 5 power, deal 5 damage from your opponent's field. If I wanted to play this right now, this would actually only be 10 because there's no targets. There's nothing on our opponent's field to be able to do 5 damage. If he had been going first, he would maybe play a minion. I would actually be able to damage it and thus getting actually a lot more value out of this Triss. The correct play in this situation for me would actually be to pass here. The reason is because if our opponent would be forced to play a card from their hand onto the field. Because if the round ends up 0-0 in a draw, you actually both get 1 point, and since I've already won 1 round over here, I'm actually going to be up to 2 points. It's like I won 2 rounds, and I'm going to win the match. So if I pass, our opponent's going to have to play a card. And what's going to happen is next turn, he's going to win this one. I'll let him take it. Next turn, he's actually going to come in with 3 cards, and I'm going to come in with 4, which is going to give me a very big advantage coming into a round 4, as opposed to if I tried to beat him this round, it's going to be 4 against 4, and if anything, he has an advantage since I'm going first. If I am to pass over here, it's going to force a card out of his hand, and then he's also going to win this round, so he's going to have to go first next time. So I'm going to have the advantage of having the last say. Plus, I'll have extra cards. I'm going to be very easily be able to take next round. It's important to keep in mind. You sort of get used to it. It might seem a little confusing at first, but you really get into the really the strategy. You start understanding when it is good to just pass, let your opponent take a round, so you'll ultimately win the entire game. So our opponent has to start, and what our opponent did was played Priestess of Freya. This says Resurrect a Bronze Soldier, a great example of a Resurrect card. Play a card from your graveyard. So he had one of these guys, these 11 power guys in his graveyard. So he summoned it onto the field from the graveyard. Really cool. And now let's say if we want to play Triss, we can actually stick this on the field, and we have a great target. This will reduce this from 11 down to 6, and we got a really optimal play, again, since we're going second. We'll wait till he plays the card. And our opponent played this card. It is Eskel. It says Summon Vesemir and Lambert, which means if he would have the cards called Vesemir and Lambert in his deck, it would summon both of them. Happens to be he only had Lambert in his deck, so it kind of summoned this card onto the field. I'll explain another little trick in this game. It is called Hazard. So this is a 4 power card, not very powerful, but it does have some very powerful abilities. We'll play it onto the field, and I'll show you exactly what they are. So one of the abilities is simply do 9 damage, pretty good. And the one I really want to show you, and it's the one I'm going to play, is called Rain. This is a hazard. This is going to play Rain onto one of our opponent's lanes, and that entire row is basically going to have like Rain. You'll see on in a second. And what that is going to do, each hazard works a little differently. This one is going to do 1 damage to 2 random units on turn start. So basically, it's going to be grinding them down over time. The last option would be Clear Skies, which would be if I had a hazard on my side of the field, I would play this. Any of my minions that are inside hazard will be boosted by 2, and it also clears all those dangerous hazards off the field. So we're going to pick Rain, and we're going to stick it right where it's going to get the most value, which is right over here, and you'll see that it puts the Rain, and at the end of the turn, these both get -1 power. So I'm just going to play the rest of this out. We'll beat this guy pretty easily now because, again, not only we have a huge card advantage. This is a Alzur's Thunder. It's a special, does 9 damage. We'll do it to the one that has 6. Usually good to hit something with 9 health, but he doesn't have one right now. And again, every single turn this is going to be weakening these guys. So our opponent played their last card. This has an ability which actually doesn't really do anything here, and we are going to win the match here. This does 4 damage to the enemy. I'll destroy this one. Our opponent is forced to pass since they have no cards, and we actually already won. I'll just play this one for a little bit of BM. BMing the computer. Come on, Fry, get a life. But that is the end. As you see, we had 31 power to our opponent's 10, and we won the third and final round. So since we won 2 out of 3, we won the game. It's that simple. You get more power. You try to use your cards to remove your opponents off the field. Try to use your cards together in a way that they will synergize. And it's really that simple. And again, this game is super generous. Now, there's one little thing the tutorial does not tell you about the game that I'm going to show you really quickly in a practice round. I'm just going to use one of my random decks. And That is mulliganing. I'm just going to show you very simply what actually happens in a real game. That was the tutorial, so they kind of simplified it for you. At the beginning, again, you have 10 cards at the beginning of the game that you're going to be using throughout, the 3 rounds. Besides, you start drawing a little more each of the following rounds. You get a chance to mulligan. Mulliganing means you click on the card, any card you see in your hand that I don't want. For example, let's say I do not want a copy of this card, so I'll click on it and it'll give me maybe something better, maybe something that will just work as a strong opening. You can click on another card. One trick is that anytime you mulligan a card, you switch it out. You actually can't get a copy of that back. So you really want to have in mind the order in which you mulligan them out. If there's a card you really don't want to, you don't want to get as the replacement card, maybe try to mulligan that one first. You don't have to mulligan all of them. You can always just press finish redrawing and that'll be fine. You can mulligan 3 cards in the first round. In the second round, again, after the first round's over, you draw 2 cards. You can mulligan 1 card, and in the third round, you draw 1 card. You can also mulligan again only 1 card. So you gotta be really think ahead and mulligan your cards wisely. I'm not going to be playing through this match, so I'm just going to concede here. And yeah, that is, you really know, if you've watched this tutorial, you know all the basics and how to play Gwent. Now, I'm going to be making in the future a tutorial in how to build decks, what to make. That's going to be my next tutorial. It's actually really simple. I'm just going to go through the rules, and then afterwards I'm going to show you what is the best deck to start the game out with. There is one that's clearly more powerful. With just the basic starting cards, you can actually do really, really well, even in ranked play in this game. Eventually, I'm going to get into more advanced decks and really fancy synergies, but this is really the basics. The best way to learn the game is to just play through the tutorial. Whenever you see a card, you don't know what it does, right-click on it, it'll pop up, and eventually you'll know what all the cards in the game do, and it is pretty simple. I've been playing just for a few weeks, and I'm already basically, I've gotten to one of the top ranks. I still have like 4 ranks to go until I'm the top rank possible. So again, this is really, for a beginner, you can play for 1 month and you'll just be right there. It's not pay to win. Again, as I went through, they're very generous. They're super generous. They give you very good decks to start. They give you almost all the heroes or leaders, as they're called in this game, and you can get, if you play a couple hours a day, you get 3 packs a day, which is, I've never seen a card game that is this generous. Plus, you can only have 4 gold cards or legendaries, 4 gold cards per deck. It's not like you can stick, like the best decks are going to have like tons and tons of expensive cards, because you can only have 4 expensive cards in each deck, and then 6 somewhat expensive cards, and the other ones have to be cheapo. So this is one of the most free to play. I can't believe, it's amazing. They know how to appeal to people. They realize that the turnoff of a lot of card games is that they're too pay to win. And let me just show you guys. Maybe I'll make this part of the tutorial. Just to show you guys how generous this game is. The daily rewards that you get, first of all, if you win 6 rounds, you get 100 ore, which is enough to buy 1 pack already. Those, you don't even have to win those games, because even in a match that you lose, you usually will win 1 of the rounds. If you win 12 rounds, you get another 75 ore on top of that, which is basically an entire pack. Plus, every single time you win like 2 rounds, you get another either 15 ore, or just sometimes you'll just get a random card and stuff like that. Super, super generous with that. You also level up, which gives you just a bunch of card kegs, which are the packs in this game. If you rank up in ranked mode, which I'll show you guys how to do that easily, you actually start getting kegs, and scraps are the materials you make to buy cards. And finally, at the end of the season, if you get to the highest rank, or even near the highest rank, you can get 8, 9, 10, or even 11 packs just the end of every season, which is every month or 2, and just 500 sparks and all kinds of stuff. The meteorite power doesn't help you win, it just makes your cards shiny and animated, which is really cool. Besides for which, you should also always keep track. Some people don't know about this right when they start playing the game. There's the social panel down here in the bottom left corner. I'm probably actually covering it, so I'll show you guys what that looks like right over there. It's basically all the way down. Oh, you still can't see it. I'll show it to you guys. Get off camera, Fry. It's this guy right over here. So basically, this will pop up, and you actually have some quests, and it says win. You can win some matches, and this will give you about 50 more 50 more ore, which is like a half a pack every single day. You can store up to 3 of them and then do that. You don't have to even play every day. And so again, if you win your 12 rounds every single day, which again just takes a couple hours, and you do your quests in the meantime, which you can do at the same time, you're getting about 3 packs a day, and that's besides for all the other rewards when you rank up in the end of the season and stuff like that. So again, this game is super generous. That's why I would suggest people are looking for a nice free-to-play card game, get on board right now, because this is definitely the best time. I'm super excited. I've been enjoying this game immensely. It's really taking my card game experience to the next level, and I really plan on sticking with this game and really becoming part of the community. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed. That was the tutorial on how to play Gwent. Check out my future tutorials on how to build decks and what decks to build, including the very first deck that you should have in this game. Hope you guys enjoy. Peace. This is Fry.